Now we will go to the one topic. That topic is the seminal vesicles. Now these seminal vesicles, these are the male genital organs. Now these male genital organs, they are situated one on either side of the median plane, just at the posterolateral aspect of, or just at the posterior part of urinary bladder. All these things are seminal vesicles. They are present at the base of the fundus part of urinary bladder in the pelvic cavity, behind the posterior surface of the urinary bladder, or keeping in front the urinary bladder, and the what at the lowest part, prostate. Keeping, you can say, behind the rectum and retrovesical pouch, then the sacrum and the coccyx. So this is the rectum. So this is the seminal vesicle. This is the seminal. These seminal vesicles, which are present one on either side of the median plane, they are the sacculated. These are the sacculated telescopic-like structures. These seminal vesicles has got the length of approximately 5 centimeters, and the what that of the urine, can say this as being it is a telescopic like, it has got the apex and it has got the base, and you have got anterior surface. So what you will be seeing, this is the posterior surface. Anterior surface is this, and you have got the lower lateral border and upper medial border. Now you have to have the talk on this, but before going to the water detailed part of the seminal vesicles, you should know that this, you can say, seminal vesicle is the water genital organ in the water, that of the male, which is compressed. This compression is a what? Of a what? Uncoiled duct. Uncoiled duct, which is having a length of 10 to 15 centimeters. It means if you separate this, it will be having a duct. The length of that duct, which has been compressed in this seminal vesicles. So uncoiled duct is the length of 10 to 15 centimeters. But its diameter, as being it is a duct, is 3 to 4 mm. 3 to 4 mm. Now this seminal vesicle has got the apex. This is the apex. The apex of the seminal vesicle is looking upwards, laterally, and a little forwards. Upwards, laterally, little forwards. Now this you can say apex, it is related to ductus deferens. Ductus deferens or the vas deferens, and the water that of the pelvic part of the water that of the ureter. Pelvic part of the ureter. Then it is related to inferior vesicular arteries, inferior vesicular veins, and the what that of the inferior vesicular group of lymph vessels. So these are all inferior. These are all the what? Superior vesicular vessels. Apart from that, it is also related to vessels which are reaching to ductus deferens, veins which will be draining the water that of the you can say ductus deferens, lymph vessels which will be draining the ductus deferens. Apart from that, it is related to peritoneum, both visceral and then parietal, visceral and then parietal. See, these are the peritoneum. And the what? Visceral part of peritoneum. This is what? Parietal part of peritoneum. So, parietal part of the peritoneum, which is related to the water that of the lateral wall of the true pelvic cavity, so that it is related. Now, after having had that, now the apex of the water that of the seminal vesicle is also related to fat areolar tissues, that is the pelvic fat and the pelvic fascia. Then you have got the base. The base of the water that of the you can say seminal vesicle, which is directing backwards or upwards or towards laterally, backwards, downwards, and towards laterally, backwards, downwards, and towards laterally. It is what the thing, how it is directed. It is almost all triangular. Now this you can say the base is your, you can say, rectum and the beginning of that of the anal canal. With that, there will be a one gland called as the prostate. So that is what the thing. Now we have got the borders. The borders of the water, that of the seminal vesicle, is the what? Upper medial boundary. So upper medial boundary is the one which will be directing upwards and towards medially. Now this thing is related to the water, that of the ductus deferensum, ductus deferensum, ductus deferensum on either side, and also at the water, just you can say apex. It is related to the entry of that of the water, that of the ureter pelvic part, and the related vessels, ureteric arteries, ureteric veins, and the water, superior vesicular arteries, superior vesicular veins, lymph vessels, and then the water nerves, sympathetic and the parasympathetic nerves, which are reaching to not only the urinary bladder but also the ductus deferens and the pelvic part of the ureters. At the level of the water, that of the upper lateral portion of the upper medial boundary or the border, while the lower part of this upper medial boundary, it is related to only the ductus deferens. Now this ductus deferens, when it will be going to unite with other side ductus deferens, it will be going to form the water, some dilated part. Now that dilated part is called as diverticuli. Now this diverticuli will be going to join to the water, duct of the water, that of the seminal vesicles, and gives the way for the formation of the ejaculatory duct, which in turn opens into the prostatic utricles, which is present in the prostatic part of the urethra there. Now so it is the diverticuli, or the diverticuli earlier to the water formation of this diverticuli from the water ductus deferens, it forms the ampulla. Ampulla is the dilated part, diverticula is also the dilated part. So this is what the upper medial boundary. Now the upper lateral boundary, lower lateral boundary is the one which will be directing downwards and towards laterally. This is. It is related to the water lateral wall of the true pelvic cavity. Wall of true pelvic cavity. Pelvic fascia. Pelvic fascia. Pelvic fascia. Pelvic fat. And the water parietal part of peritoneum, apart from the pelvic part of parietal part of the peritoneum, pelvic parietal part of peritoneum, it is also related to visceral part of the water, that of the, you can say, peritoneum, that to pelvic reflection of visceral part of the peritoneum. So this is what the lateral, lower lateral, I mean to say, this is what lower lateral border. Now either the upper medial boundary or the border, lower lateral border, they are separating posterior surface from the anterior surface of the seminal vesicle, Now after having had this, now we have to go to the what? Surface. The surface of the what? That of the seminal vesicle. You are seeing here, it is the what? Posterior surface. But before going to the what? Surface. Now this upper medial and lower lateral border has got the what? Some semilunar like or a crescentric things. Now these crescentric things, what you will be getting now here, they are called as the what? Saccules. Now these saccules are formed because of the what? Compression of the what? Uncoiled duct of about what? 10 to 15 centimeter which is there. It is compressed. Because of the compression, those things, saccules are formed. Now after having this, you have to go to the surface. You will be seeing here it is the posterior surface. Here you will be seeing the anterior surface. Now you have to go to the anterior surface. Anterior surface of the water, that of the seminal vesicle, which is directing forwards and little upwards. Now this thing is related to the posterior surface of or base of or fundus of urinary bladder, as well as it is related to superior inferior vesicular arteries and superior inferior vesicular veins. So you will be getting here anterior surface. So if it is a seminal vesicle, so anteriorly it is related to posterior surface of urinary bladder, base or the fundus, then the water, superior, inferior, seminal vesicular arteries, superior, inferior vesicular veins, superior, inferior vesicular lymph vessels, and the sympathetic and the parasympathetic nerve filaments. So these all will be the what? Vessels of nerves. Then it is also related to fat, areolar tissue. This is what? Infant. Means anterior. Now posteriorly, I mean to say the posterior surface is the one which will be directing backwards and little downwards. It is related to. So this, what you can see, or rather this thing. It is related to. One pouch. That pouch is called as retrovesical pouch. Then middle rectal arteries, middle rectal veins, middle rectal group of lymph vessels, and nerve fluxes or the nerve filaments of sympathetic plus parasympathetic. sympathetic. Apart from that, it is related to rectum. So this is what the relation of the water that of the posterior surface. Now after having had this relations, you have to go to the water. Relations means surface has been finished. Now after having the surface and after having the borders, you have to, when you will be explaining these borders as well as the surface, you have to explain the visceral relations. So it has been finished. Now the peritoneal relation of the water, that of the seminal vesicles, there will be a water that of the, where you can say retrovesical pouch, retrovesical pouch. So this is the pouch, retrovesical pouch. Then you have got the what? It is not the things directly it supports, but indirectly it supports. Pubovesical, puboprostatic, and because this you can say seminal vesicle, it will be going to open into the ejaculatory duct in the prostatic ventricles, so it is indirect. So these are the relations of the water that of them seminal vesicle along with the surface border and the apex. Now you have to go to the water that of the internal. The internal of the seminal vesicles, then you have come across. If you cut this seminal vesicles, it will be appearing like some, that cavities. Now these cavities are because of the what? Coiled or coiled, you can say, tube which will be there in the what? Seminal vesicle, which has been having a length of 10 to 15 centimeter when it is uncoiled. Because of this you will be going to have these things. Now these things are called as a what? Cavities of the water seminal vesicles. Now, as because it is a duct which has been compressible, you will be going to have the water coverings. This is what the outer covering, this is what the inner middle covering, this is the inner covering. Outer is the fibrous, middle is the muscular, inner is the what? Mucus. This is the cut. Now this outer histological part of the seminal vesicle, it is totally a fibrous tissues. Muscular, you will be having a outer circular, inner longitudinal. Then you have got the mucosal. Mucosal layers, it will be having a type of epithelial which will be facilitates secretions. Secretion, along with that, it also produces a sticky substance, mucus, mucoid columina, and you will be having a, which in turn it facilitates the what, some enzyme to produce, that is called as vesiculase enzyme. Vesiculase enzyme. So this will be the what, columnar mucoidal cells. So this is the histology. Now it will be the what, fibrous, it will be the what, muscular, outer circular, inner, this is the circular, inner longitudinal, then you will be having a mucosa. So this will be the histology. Coming to the what, embryology of this, before going to the embryology, you have to go to the what, that particular blood supply. Blood supply for the what, that of the seminal vesicle, it is by the what, inferior vesicular arteries as well as middle rectal arteries, which are in turn the branches of that of internal iliac from the anterior trunk. Venous drainage, corresponding veins, those are the inferior vesicular veins from the superficial part and the deep part, as well as the middle rectal veins. They will be going to drain and then open into the what, internal iliac veins. Lymph nodes, lymphatic drainage, superficial and deep lymph vessels of the seminal vesicles, they drain and then they get open into the inferior vesicular group of lymph vessels, lymph nodes, and middle rectal lymph vessels and the lymph nodes, both apparent and different varieties. Then coming to the what, that of the, where you can say nerve supply. Nerve supply for the what, that of the seminal vesicle is totally bile. Totally bile. The sympathetic and the parasympathetic. Now sympathetic and the parasympathetic, when it has came, sympathetic is the bodily segmented part. Bodily segmented, in this case it is the what, sacral fluxus. And this sacral fluxus will be going to form by the what, that of the, definitely the spinal, and then when it will be going to form the spinal, you have got the ganglions. Now those ganglions are the sympathetic ganglions. Now these sympathetic ganglions which will be there, it will be going to join to the what, that of the parasympathetic, that is by the what, vagus, and then it will be, after joining to this sacral spinal, it will be going to give rise to the what, that of the pre and the post ganglionic fibers. From the pre and the post ganglionic fibers, or white rami communicants and the grey rami communicants, white are less, grey are more. From this you can say grey and the white rami, or the pre and the post ganglionic fibers, some filaments are going to come out. Now those are the called as the what, fluxes. Now those fluxes are the what, seminal vesicular fluxes of a nerve, which is there at the what, inferior hypogastric, at the level of the what, sacrum, that to what, third, fourth level, it will be supplied. So it is an autonomic nervous system. Now after having that, you have to go to the what, embryology. Embryology of the seminal vesicle, as it is a part of the what, urogenital, it is developed from the what, that of the mesoderm. So then comes to the what, haploid anatomy. Sometimes what you will be going to have the cancer of the what, that of the, where you can say seminal vesicles. This cancer of the seminal vesicle may be the what, secondary. primary being somewhere, either in the prostate or in the what rectum or in the what urinary bladders or then any neighboring organs. Now this is the thing, malignancy is what you say, cancer. Then you will be going to get the what tuberculosis of the what, that of the seminal vesicles. Then you may get the what seminal inflammation of the mucosal lining of the what seminal vesicles. So that is called the seminal vesiculitis. Then as it is a compressed duct which has been uncoiled having a length of 10 to 15 centimeter, now that thing, as it is a duct, there may be the what sometimes calcification of the water, that of the seminal vesicles. This is another applied anatomy. Sometimes you will be getting the stones in the water seminal vesicles. So these are the applied anatomy of the water, that of the seminal vesicle. After having this, you have to go to the one small topic which should be there in connection with this. Now that is what is said to be as ejaculatory duct. What is this ejaculatory duct? Ejaculatory duct, it is a duct which is formed by the water, the union of ductus deferens, which are placed one on either side, to that of the ducts which are coming from the water, that of the seminal vesicle. These are the duct of seminal vesicle. This is the ductus deferens. So after this union, what it will be going to form, this is called as ejaculatory. So ejaculatory duct is a duct which is having a 2 centimeter length. Now this ejaculatory duct which is formed by the water union of ductus deferens one on either side and the water ejaculatory duct coming from the water either side, which is running downwards a little forwards, to open into prostatic part of the what urethra in the prostatic utricles. Now this ejaculatory duct has got the what, as being it is a duct, it has got the serous or little amount of the what fibrous, and then you have got the muscular is a outer circular, inner longitudinal, and then mucosal layer. Now this mucosal layer consists of the water, that of the columnar type of epithelials. So this is the histology of that of the ejaculatory. Blood supply from the water, that of the ejaculatory duct. These are by the water, that of the inferior vesicular arteries and the what rectal arteries and even the prostatic arteries. Venous drainage, prostatic venous plexus partially, and the what inferior vesicular veins and the what middle rectal veins. Lymphatic drainage, seminal vesicular fluxus of lymph vessels, lymph nodes, middle rectal lymph vessels, lymph nodes, and prostatic fluxus of lymph vessels at the termination, where that ejaculator duct in the prostatic part of the utricles, in the prostatic part of the urethra. So that is the lymphatic. What is the nerve supply? Nerve supply for this is by the word sympathetic and the parasympathetic. Bodily segmented, that is the sacrococcygeal fluxus, as well as the what that of the, you can say, vagus. Now applied anatomy, internal is over, histology is over, blood supply, venous drainage, lymphatic is over, and what is the, you can say, applied anatomy? As it is a duct, it may be going to have the water same thing, the inflammation of the water ejaculatory duct, or you will be going to have a stenosis of the water that of the ejaculatory duct, or it may be the what, tuberculosis of the water that of the ejaculatory duct, or any, you can say, in this path there may be the what, inside growth may be going to come, tumors which are present of the ejaculatory ducts. So these are the few applied anatomy for this ejaculatory duct. Now what is the embryology of this? Embryology of the water that of the ejaculatory duct, as it is a part and partial of that of the genital system. It is developed from the water genital bud, which gives the way for the formation of the water genital folds. From the genital folds, it may be going to come into the what? Mesodermal origin. Same thing applies for the what? That of the seminal vesicles. Development of the water that of the seminal vesicle is by the mesoderm, but this thing initially it will be going to develop from the water genital bud, genital fold, genital groove. From that genital groove, you will be going to get this seminal vesicle development, that is in total by the mesoderm, the sixth. Then you will be going to have the water now this duct of the seminal vesicles. Duct of the seminal vesicles are these ducts will be going to form at the base of the water that of the seminal vesicle, one on either side. It will be going to join to the what? Ductus deferens, which will be going to come on the either side from the top, from the up, and gives the way for the formation of the water ejaculatory duct. So these are the ducts of the water that is the seminal vesicle. So it is the seminal vesicle. So this is the duct of seminal vesicle. So this is one should. So with this you have finished seminal vesicles, ejaculatory duct, duct of the seminal vesicles. So these are all the things that what you should know. Thank you one and all for patiently listening about this seminal vesicle as a what topic today. Then subtopics, ejaculatory duct,